Welcome everybody to Panfish Nation. Along with Mark, I'm Lyle, and Mark, I'm digging that uh, intro more and more.
I am too. It's kind of even the music's catchy. I like seeing all the people. So
That's right. And the fish.
and the fish are second, man.
I
It's
still
all.
get a kick out of Betty always holding the big fish, even if you don't catch it.
Careful, she might be listening.
I messaged Brandon about that right after you done that, and I said, "How come you let her kill all the big fish?" He said, "Try to take one away from her."
uh, oh, look at this. That's quite a change from last week. Read that.
Look at the smile on them two handsome devils. Oh my! That is a change from last week, by the way.
A little bit. I fished today, Lyle. It was rough. I got like 4 little crappie, but not for lack of trying. Oh my God, I busted my hump all day out there. And the first nice day, so I had to get out there, but I could see, I know this show's about old school fishing, but I could see them clear as day on them brush piles on that live scope, and they weren't biting for nothing.
Really?
They wanted nothing to do with me.
I got to tell you, Mark, I went and met James yesterday, and the wind was blowing so hard, the water was coming up over top of the dock. And I need some bait. So we was fishing for bluegill and caught bluegill. I got plenty of bait. I went out and changed the water in a while ago and met the guy from Catfish Weekly who's out there. We first time out this year. And I was shocked. I stopped at another little lake on the way back and boom, instantly started catching crappie, but they're small. Um, but it, I tied up some jigs and I sent you a picture of them that they're white with a dark back and they're deer hair, and they was really working. The last 2 times I've been out there, they've worked really well. They're kind of fat in the middle like a shad, and I put a dot on some of them. Some of them I didn't with a magic marker, but they really like that. And over the weekend, we caught a bunch of them on some of Jason Persinger's bait, and they worked really, really well.
Yeah, I was privileged enough to have Jason send me some of them. I bought some also as well. They're a heck of a bait. Just that different profile seems to set them off.
It does. I actually ordered some the other day from him after James and I played.
Yeah, that has so much to do with it. Like today, I was telling you, I was fishing hard trying to get them off of them brush piles, and and unfortunately, I didn't have them, where I didn't try any of Jason's baits. I probably should have. I was busy going through everything else I had in my bait bag. I think, oh my God, Lyle, I haven't tied so many jigs in my life. Jesus Louise. But then I think, that the lake I was fishing on, I was at Rock Cut State Park here in Illinois, right in McChesney Park. And there's a lake called Pierce Lake in there. I did see 16 turkeys on my way in.
Wow.
And 2 toms. They were all puffed out, ready to go. They're getting their spring on.
They got one thing on their mind right now.
They sure do, and they had a whole harem with them. But anyways, that lake is so pressured. I think that I might do a little better with different profiles. That could help too. Right. I didn't have any tube jigs. I could have probably tried those. I could have tried some of Jason's jigs. I do this every time I come back fishing. Think about what I could have done different. So maybe use some of those little itty bitty Charlie Brewers, not the Charlie Brewers, the itty bitty plastics. I forget who makes them, but those work pretty good when you want to change it up too. And I got the jig sizes for them too now, so that kind of helps since I started pouring them.
Yeah, but the back of my truck, Mark, there's 9 rods for bluegill. You have to put them inside. There is a frayable bait. I keep my bluegill in if I'm catching bluegill. There is a backpack full of jigs. There is the biggest one Walmart sells full of jigs. And there's the next size down full of jigs. And I got 4 or 5 of those Gamakatsu things full of jigs laying randomly in there with them. So I make sure I have everything I need. And I've been wanting to try those Panfish ones you buy at the store. What do they call them? long, thin. I can't think of it. Anyhow, I've lost. And I was gonna try the Gulp Lives the other day and forgot
Uh-huh.
to. So I mean, there comes a point in time when I think that you have too big a selection with you, and that you should probably take condense it down to a smaller amount and take them instead of all the others. But on another note, I did forget something when we done that show here a while back about snacks. Remember? We was talking
Mm-hmm.
about Thanksgiving summer stuff.
Oh, heck yeah.
My grandson was selling some for something he's doing in school, and it had jalapeno peppers and stuff in it. I bought one of them, trying to be a good grandpa. I hope he thinks of that. And my God, that was great. It was freaking awesome. And I thought, man, why do I not have this in the boat every time we go out?
You know that you got a point there. Sometimes if I got like some salami or something too in the fridge, I'll bring that with too.
Yeah,
Some
that's
crackers,
good too.
cheese. You can't beat that. Real quick, back to like the jigs. I got a whole container of these sitting on my desk. I'm gonna see. I put them on a little tie I had.
Here, let me give you full screen, Mark.
All right, these aren't just swivels; they're quick swaps. You pinch them together like this, and you can get the jig inside this hoop right here.
Yeah.
I should have tied one of them on. I just forgot to bring them. I think that would have made my day a lot easier. And it does have a little baby barrel swivel on them too.
So you don't get line twist.
You don't get line twists. So I'm going to try these out next time. I've had these sitting in my office for a while. But yeah, I think I need
those work out for you, would you?
I will. I got them off of Amazon. I think the name of the company's Dr. Hook or something like that. Here, take me off of
Dockery, did you say?
Dr. Dockery, sure. He is the crappie doctors, that's for sure.
Oh my God, man. He's an animal. He really is.
You guys killed it on Sunday, man. I slept in on Sunday, guilty as charged. I don't do that too often, but every now and then I got to do some catching up, and that was the day that it just happened to do that. And I caught like the last 40 minutes of it, and you guys were just banging them out one after another. Dockery was killing it.
Stan put on a great show the other day. We had a wonderful time. We fished before the tournament started because for us it started at noon. For them it was 11 to 1. For us it was noon to 12. We caught fish before the tournament. We caught fish during it. We stayed and fished after the tournament. Katie was giving archery classes. Dockery skipped out on her. She was giving she gave 2 archery classes. She come down and sat in the boat with us, and we kept catching fish. But there's all little, you know. We only caught 3 or 4 decent ones, but my God, we caught over 150 crappie and never moved.
That's pretty crazy, you know. And granted, if you're doing that normally, if you're catching that many little fish, you would definitely move and look for bigger fish. Definitely,
it was a numbers game, and that's what we done. And I think James caught 59 that during the 2-hour tournament. That's an average of 1 every 2 minutes. I think I caught 33, I believe is the number. I might be off on that by 1 or 2. But that's a major thing.
Yeah, when we did the Panfish tournament last year, we never finished it. That's our bad. Sorry, folks. But
I agree.
We had some big numbers too.
We did.
The Dockery, he got, was it 49 or 59 as well when I was fishing with him that day. I had like 40 or something. He had 59. I think I had 40. Another day I fished. There are a ton of bluegills. And then I forget the gentleman who was in the kayak. He was killing them.
Yeah.
As well. So once you get on them hot bites, man, it's a ton of fun. 100%.
There was another tournament where Dockery and Josh they fished 2 different days.
That was on Chad's channel. That was a good one.
They killed it, man. James left one lake and went to another because he was catching all them trout, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And he left that, drove to another spot, and caught bluegill. And everybody said, "Why would you leave?" Because he can do it. And he went to the other one, caught this many, and Josh nearly caught him on Sunday of that.
I fished that one too, and I think I caught 5 before the stream. I caught 9 during the whole 4 hours of Chad's tournament, and then I caught like 3 more as soon as it was freaking done. Like the last 2 hours, I couldn't pay for a bite. It was ridiculous.
Oh man!
Sometimes it's like that. It's fishing. I mean,
it is. I have this spot that I go to very regularly, and here a while back, about a month ago, we was catching 1 pound or near 1 pound red ears, just time after time after time, and my God, they're fun to catch. Using ultra lights and jigs, and some of them times tip them with worms, sometimes not. And Mark, the last 2 weeks, I can't buy a bluegill out of that lake. Just can't. But man, the crappie is. What are you gonna do? Just catch crappie?
Well, that could be good news for you though, Lyle. I was doing some reading, and the way the fish move, at least panfish do, the first ones to come in are the perch, usually in the channels or around docks, and the second are crappie, and then bluegill are usually the third ones and last ones to come in. Right. So if you're still catching all them crappie right off a dock, your bluegills could be next to hit pay dirt and really get good. And that's just the order that they seem to come in. At least the gentleman that wrote this book, you'll have to forgive me what book I was reading or listening to, I should say, in the car. But that's what he said. Let me read this comment from Schmieder of the Cedars before I get backed up. He says, the crappie and brim have been on fire this week here in Okie. I think he means Oklahoma. And let me say hello to everybody in chat here. I'm scrolling through here. Let's see what we got here. All right. We didn't forget about you. We got Crappie Day Darren. He was one of the first ones in here. There's Chad over at Fields Water. His name just popped up on the list. Jersey, what's going on? I still got your sticker and stuff, Jersey. I was looking at my cooler today, and I saw your sticker on it. So that's pretty cool to see that. Mike Irvin, what's going on, Mike? How you doing, bud? There's Joe Buck, channel supporter. What's going on, Joe? If you guys want to support channel, there is a link down in the description. You can click on that, or anyway, the support is definitely appreciated, and we appreciate you, Joe, for supporting us for so long. There's Aaron. How you doing, Aaron? He was on the tournament too, and Wildcat Riggs is in the house. I also saw another one in here, Dakota. Let me scroll up here and see. I think that's a new one. Dakota Cats was in here. What's going on, Dakota Cats? And I saw Hooked on Crappie as well. Welcome. What's going on, folks? How are you doing?
I have to tell you, this has nothing to do with fishing. It sort of does, because everybody has to buy gas to go fishing, whether they're driving their vehicle or putting it in a boat or whatever you're doing. Shell Oil Company has a deal called Rewards, and you can get one of these cards and you insert it before you use your debit card or credit card to pay for your fuel. Tomorrow only, for members, 15 cents a gallon off.
Oh, there you go.
So guess who's filling up tomorrow?
I'm a member of that deal, and I filled up today, so I didn't get to take advantage of that. So,
well, that's too bad. But if it has to be one of us, I'm glad it was you and not me.
Well, good news is I saved money on the Illinois tolls, because to where I went, I get on I-90, right, Lyle, and I head north. I hit a bunch of tolls with the boat and the extra single axle trailer on my boat. It cost me $28 to get there and back when I fish.
Holy, in tolls?
In tolls only. So I took the side.
Betty and Chad complained about that when they went up to Mendota that time. Wow.
It is out of hand. But I took the back road, so I did that, and I should, you know what? I got a picture I'm going to send you of the show, because there was a taco truck on the way home, and they were some of the best El Pastor tacos I've ever eaten. I'll have to send you those. So yeah, that was the bonus.
Kevin Capel says he went out for an hour the other night and caught a big bullhead, a perch. I made a bull perch sandwich. That sounds pretty tasty, actually.
I have never had a a bullhead to eat. I always use them for bait.
They're
And
good
you
eating.
know what? But the spots that I catch them in, Lyle, are like cesspool spots.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
No, not doing that. Hey, what's going on, Lisa? How you doing, dear? Let's see
It's
if she's going to be nice to me today or call me a stalker again.
something about these girls and you. I don't know what's going on.
They're always teasing me. You know what they
Yeah,
say.
but man, it has the panfish bite. Whether you're catching them to eat or whether you're catching them for bait, has really been hot the last several weeks. One of the things is this wind. I can never remember wind being so strong for so long. And today it was beautiful, hardly any wind. And what did I do? I couldn't get stuck.
See, that's what she does right there.
Hey, there's Brian B. is doing it. Mike Irwin
What's up, Brian? How you doing?
up in the
Cooking
air,
and listening. I bet he's cooking something good.
Jersey. Glad to see everybody come in.
Aaron says, I love catching them for my grandfather growing up. I think he's talking about bullhead. Bullhead are fun to catch. They're pretty simple
Yeah.
if you can get them. They're an easy fish. You know what I'm going to try this year, Lyle, and you're going to hate me for this. I'm going to try using some shrimp to catch bullhead. See if that makes a difference. I want to keep the pan. I'm going to keep the bluegill off them. Is what I want to do.
Channel cat love them. I know that.
Yeah, I use them for channel catch. You know, folks, here's a tip for the day. I always had come up with some sort of tip here, whether you know it or not. Walmart always sells their near expiration shrimp. They work for great bait. Buy them. You can get a bag, like the bag of the large ones that I wouldn't eat. Personally, I wouldn't eat. Yeah, I'd probably eat them. I ain't gonna lie. If I But you spend a heck of a lot of money for like $4. You get like a big old bag of them, and that's a couple of fishing trips if you're willing to split them up. But
it depends on how the bite is. Some days, Mark, it don't matter what you use, and other days it don't matter because they're going to take it. It's the way it is.
Kevin Capel says Nightcrawler is the best bait for bullheads, no doubt about it. 100%, Kevin.
I agree
100%. They don't care if it's night crawlers or red worms. They just want they'll because they're living on the bottom. They're eating anything that's coming up out of there.
Whatever's their opportunity. You know, here's something that people might not realize. For a long time, I was always told that muddy ponds, farm ponds or local ponds in town or anything, if they're muddy, it's because somebody put carp in it. That's not true. And they may muddy it up. I don't know. But I'll guarantee you, if you find a muddy pond, it's got bull. Them things, I don't know what they do to ponds or water, but most bodies of water that are muddy looking, especially small bodies, they'll be bullheaded.
I have one pond that unfortunate by like the by June is so overgrown you can't get a bait in there. Ryan from Setting Hook and Crossing Eyes, he's like grab like a kayak anchor, which I happen to have, put it on a rope, throw it out there 10 feet off the bank, pull it in a couple of times, drag them weeds out and let it settle and you'll be good to go. I've yet to try something like that, but I might have to do that. And then I got other spots where I fish for bluegill and stuff. And every now and then I'm talking big, like orca sized bullheads in those, but it's like never repeatable. So I might try doing that which is why I wanted to try the shrimp, because the bluegill and or also known as brim in other parts of the country, they usually beat them to them worms and tear them up, and it just doesn't work that well. But I'm talking orca sized ones like this, like 3/4 pounders. Yeah, big old suckers, the yellows and the blacks.
If you can get them big old brown, yellow, or black bullheads, them flatheads don't care. They'll eat them any.
They
and
like
if they're
them.
1 pound, that's just a little bigger snake. So they love it. I still contend that flatheads will kill a bullhead just to kill him.
Just to kill them.
If they're killing them, they're eating. I mean, they're not going to go
down the gullet it goes. I've caught flathead on bullhead. I don't cut the fins off them just because I want them to swim. I want them to kick all night. And
they're so hardy anyhow.
Yeah, I've caught like 5-pound flatheads, 6-7-pound flatheads during the spawn, which is one of the few times of the year that you're more likely to catch them on my river here, the smaller ones like that, because I think they're hiding the rest of the time. They're self-preservation mode, no joke.
That's right.
But where the hook wasn't set in the fish, it was actually the fins that were stuck in its throat. When I brought it back, it was a nightmare getting it out. Dieter Melhorn did a video, and he showed this long pair of needle nose pliers that I actually picked up through one of his links, and they've come in handy quite a bit. They got like a 90-degree bend on them. They're like this long.
Yeah,
you can get down
and
do the work you got to do. So, and I was using a circle hook, so it wasn't for using a J hook, which I use now. I try to get on them fish before they get gut hooked, and I got pretty good ratio of them not getting gut hooked, so I'm not too worried about it.
Dakota Cat says flathead in my picture was caught in Luke boat on a live bluegill. Luke loves to use bullheads.
He does.
He loves to fish cut bank on the river. So if there's a brush pile around that cut bank or a creek channel that comes into it, I promise you, Luke is either there or he's been.
Look at this. We got a comment here from Mr. Mike. We're not going to read his last name because I think I know who this might be. He says, "Give me a cane pole and a red worm, and I'm good for the day." That's what kind of prompted me with this with the show idea tonight, Lyle. Danny Stone, who'll probably be in here before the end of the night. He sent this.
He wakes up.
Yeah, as soon as he wakes up after work, he's got to get his nap in. I can understand that and appreciate it. He sent both you and I some old antique baits, which I have right up here above me on my shelf over here on display. I was looking for a coffee can and to store worms in, right? And I wasn't looking for it in the garage or anything because I know I don't have any in the garage, but I wanted to get one of them old steel coffee cans. So I've been kind of looking all over the place to get one, and I just can't come across one. If I do, I'll make sure to pick it up. But because all of them's plastic, I guess plastic would work, but it doesn't have that nostalgia. The same reason why you pick up one of those old tin minnow buckets,
right?
It's just something that reminds you of simpler days.
Gone by.
Yep. And, I did mention I was using my live scope today, and I'll tell you right now, it works and everything, but I don't think I'm really a fan, to be honest, Lyle.
Really?
Yeah, it's not because it doesn't work.
That.
I'm sorry?
Let's hear about that.
Well, it's not just the frustration of seeing the fish down there and them not biting and so on. You just waste so much of your time looking down at that screen or using the electronics or tweaking the settings that, you're taking, let's say 20% of your fishing time out,
Yeah.
And I'm finding fish in areas that I know to look for. I know to look for fish at for the most part. So, and I think I spend a little more time than I need to on spots where there are fish than I would without it. So I'm going to try and use it less and less this year and see what happens. So, I don't use it for catfishing because it just doesn't work well in 4 feet of water. I don't care what anybody says. It just doesn't. So I don't use it much for catfishing, but for crappie fishing or any other kind of bait fishing, I'll use it. So
one thing that I love to do when I'm pan fishing
is what?
Side imaging.
Yeah.
Side imaging works in short depth of water. It'll work underneath docks. It's just, there's so many things that it's good for. And they used to say the same thing when they come out with side imaging that, oh my God, you guys shouldn't be using that. An unfair advantage. Well, it's not live scope. It's not even close to what live scope is, but it is a distinct advantage. And one of my favorite ways to use it is when the bluegill go on bed. You can find them beds and you can sit there and have your way with it.
Today, the reason why I got the fish was because I gave up on trying to get them off of those brush piles. I'm like, I'm just going to re-rig a couple of poles with double jigs on them, and I'm going to do a little bit of trolling. And before I threw the lines out, I kind of motored along the banks in about 14 feet of water at this lake. And I could see the fish on side imaging. I knew they were there. And so basically I caught more fish using side imaging and the old 2D sonar than I did using the live scope. So,
yep. The old sonar is not as defined as down imaging and side. It's not. But my God, we've had it forever. It's worked good forever, and you can't replace it with even the new technology. There's some things about it that just works good. And if you're going, say you're in a lake or on a river and you're looking for a spot to fish, it'll pick out structure. It will pick out structure. And if you can't determine what it is, just go to down imaging or side imaging, and boom, there you go. It's a tree, or it's a stump, or it's this or that. And that's what I use it for. If I'm searching for fish, if you find structure, you'll find fish most all the time.
they're there. Live scope proves it, but you can't always catch them.
Look at there, John Parker has joined us. Welcome, real time catfishing.
What's up, Mr. Parker? How you doing, John? Bugman says I will never have live scope, so that's good too.
I thought that for a long time, but if I got the right opportunity, I would probably buy one. Especially now, since I keep hearing how great strides they have made with the new Humminbird. But that is personal preference. Just because everything I got's Humminbird, I don't want to learn a new one. I'll never own another brand. So that leaves me stuck with what I like, and that's what I buy. But I kept thinking that the best thing to do as far as buying one would be wait until they get all the bugs worked out of them. But hell, I think Garmin pretty much had the bugs worked out of theirs when.
Yeah, for the most part, they do. It works really well. I can't complain. And they just had a new update to their trolling motor, which I did this week, which kind of helps. One of the big problems when you're pulling up to a brush pile is if you're on a spot lock and that motor turns around, it'll blow all the crappie right off of that. Well, they changed it where the head doesn't actually do a 180. It actually reverses the thrust without turning the head on the trolling motor, which made a big difference today. I didn't see any of that, so.
Whoops, missed the one I was after. Look, up in the air run says I caught some big sunfish around a beaver dam and crappie. That's pretty good info right there. It really is.
Let me tell you a story about my encounter with a beaver.
Okay.
We were fishing for flathead one night on a bank, and we got there's three of us, right? We got 2 lines out, so we got 6 lines all strung out along a bank. Well, this beaver would come out and slap its tail. You know how they do that when they want you out of their territory, right? This sucker grabbed a big old branch. We're talking leaves and everything, and dragged it across all 6 of our lines. And to this day, I'll tell you, he did that on purpose.
Absolutely. You think them animals are not real intelligent. Most of them's brain are real tiny. But they know what fishermen are. They know what they're doing there. They'll figure stuff like that out. It's just a matter of time. So.
Buggy says, it just seems to me that it takes all the skill of reading the bank and trying to find fish. That is one of my favorite parts of fishing. There you go.
The old guys, back in the old days when I was a kid, the people that I used to go fishing with, they didn't have. I remember they come out with the little round sounders that just went down. Mm-hmm. That's all you got was depth. And to me, that was when they come out with them, I thought, wow, if nothing else, you won't run over stuff that's sticking up out of the ground. But they would mark fish too, but you really had to pay attention to what you're doing. And that was a game changer for a lot of people because the old men, they'd look at the current, read the bank, and they knew where to go, where to catch fish, where to stay away from. That skill set has kind of gone away. There's some people that still know how to do it, and everybody should learn that because I believe in the electronics I have on my boat. I trust it. Probably too much. But in your mind, if you don't think something ain't right, stay away from it. Yeah, just stay away from it.
And a lot of, I need you to read that comment for me, Lyle.
A beaver smack mark.
But
He's being mean to you again.
Beavers have made me jump so many times. No
They
comment
sound
on
like
that
a
one.
gun going off, man.
Yeah, they're pretty loud and obnoxious. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We're not. We'll share the raccoon story that I have for another time. That's
My son took a beaver that had some little ones with her up underneath the bank. It was a rock bluff, and it was sitting up there, and he cast up there and hit that thing. And I said, "Cut the line. She'll get it out. Don't worry." He was going to reel it in. I said, "You're crazy." And my other son tried to put a squirrel that was swimming across the creek one time, tried to dip net it and put it in the box. You don't want that damn thing to go. He'll eat us both alive.
Okay, I just got confirmation. I want folks, not to change the topic, but I just want to make sure that I mention this. If you have some time, please send your thoughts and or prayers if you're a praying type for Betty and Brandon. Brandon's mom is had surgery today, so hopefully she recovers. That's pretty much all the details that I'm gonna give, but I just got confirmation that it was all right to ask for prayers, and it never hurts. So we want to make sure that that's called out. So yeah, I was fishing a creek one time, and there's a mama with her little baby ducklings right behind her. And it was either a big old bass or a pike came up and ate one of them ducklings. That scared the death out of me. It sounded like somebody dropped a freaking cinder block in that water. It was crazy.
Yeah. Up in the air run says, if you're in beaver heaven, flatheads are there. I agree with you.
Another thing that I've learned, I've been told this, and I've learned it for myself, is if you're catching walleye in a spot, chances are there's going to be flathead there as well at night. So keep that in mind. Jody says, beavers are mean. They will swim all around your boat, smacking their tail. Yep.
I'm going to leave that alone.
Jerry Parker, what's up, Jerry?
Jerry says, when beavers smack the water, they are not sure what you are trying to get you to move. They have poor eyesight. Yeah. I'm almost afraid to read this, but when Josh puts stuff up, I had two beavers do that once in a while, bank fishing, once in the boat. Both were introduced to a shallow or to a hollow point. Yeah, I have an animal that I'm like that.
And Josh also says they're good eating, though.
Well, I've not ever had beef. That's one of the things I haven't. But yeah,
oh my God, someone's definitely going to cut that out, the audio.
What?
No, never mind.
Oh, okay. Jody asked if anybody eats squirrel. Of course I do. They're good. You got to cook them slow.
I hear it's good, but my wife threatened to kill me in my sleep if I brought one in the house to cook. So,
oh wow, put it on the grill, cook it outside. Most people don't. They think about them because they're classified as a rodent, but they're very tasty.
See what Buggy says. He says, I am so close to being able to get away. Just a few more appraisals and I'll be able to get out. Good. Get on them panfish. There's the Benoit ladies. How you doing, ladies? Thanks for coming in.
Wow. Parker says he has destroyed many a cast net due to beaver food piles under the water. Wow. That's something I haven't ever done. I can't imagine. Holy crap.
Ray Smith, channel supporter. Thanks for coming in, Ray. It's always nice to
see
you.
Old buddy, how you doing?
So so the coffee can thing came up to what kind of brought this to mind. Cane poles. I came across some cane poles that I had tucked away in the corner in the garage too. So that'd be kind of neat. I think that would make a good tournament to have like a cane pole fishing tournament. So
yeah, I haven't used one in years.
They sell them at Walmart for pretty cheap, if I'm not mistaken. I know I got I know that I got actually a carbon fiber one that they were selling from B&M. I think it's called a Spider, or maybe it's just fiberglass, but it's pretty fun to fish with those, especially if you get like a channel cat or something. And with crappie,
go ahead.
with crappie coming on beds here, there's no reason why you can't use them for that walking along the bank. So
That's true. What is it that Kevin's got that he uses out of his
I think he calls them a brim buster, if I'm not
rim duck?
mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a long fiberglass rod or something, but he uses them a lot. Some other people use them too, but his name comes to mind.
Yeah, Kevin's in shell cracker heaven there. He's
Oh
got on
man,
more than
remember
a
the
few
guy
of
we
those.
used to have on the show every once in a while that them 3 and 4 pound red ears? I just, my God, they was junk.
So what else do you think of when you think about old school fishing, Lyle, fishing back in the day?
J hook. There was no such thing as a circle hook back in the day. There was, but it was only for saltwater fish. J hook is something that you set the hook on everything, and when you've done that your whole life, when circle hooks come out, you finally decided you kept jerking them so much that you was going to quit taking J hooks with you, so you could learn how to use a circle hook. The hookup ratio grew; it got large. Uh, so yeah, J hooks is something that about the only thing I use J hooks now is I use the 10-aught Gamakatsu Big River hook for bumping. Most people let them load up on a circle hook. Not me. I'm trying to rip his lips off, because he's trying to take that rod away from you because he stole that bait and he's trying to take off with it, and I'm trying to pull his head into it.
You know what you mentioned hooks, and it's funny you said that because one of the things that comes to mind are those Eagle Claw pre-snelled hooks that they still sell.
They still sell them.
Those were the only hooks I used for the longest time when I was a young man, for when I was really young, and they work real well. They're still probably my go-to carp hook. If I go carp fishing, which isn't too often, those are the ones I use. Still just kernels of corn on there, and I'm going to town, kind of chum around the area, but they still work good to this day. The monofilament that they use is probably a little heavier than it needs to be, but
you don't break off as bad though.
Yeah.
The one of the other things is you didn't just go out and buy worms. You went and dug the dam or raked leaves up and found them underneath the leaves or rocks and stuff. I can remember when you didn't buy fishing worms. There never was any.
Right behind this wall behind me is the side of my house. Right now, on the side of the house, I have two large, maybe three large pieces of slate that I lay on the ground in between some shrubs that we got running across the house. And if I'm ever in a need to go get some bait, I'll always lift them up, and there's always worms under there. Always. It's like my own little personal worm farm. So I'll pick them out of there, and they work pretty darn good and get to make sure there's worms there. So
the toughest fishing worms of any kind that I've ever seen come from the banks of the Mississippi River, especially on the island. It's muddy, and they thrive in that, and they have a greenish tint to them. And you get down in there, and you stick your hands in that mud, and they just come up like awful amount. And they're long like a night crawler, about half the size around as your little finger. And they nastiest stuff ooze out of them when you put them on a hook, but they're tough. They'll stay on a hook really well, and they're used to eating them, so they're great bait. But whatever you're wearing, like a pair of jeans or something, after being down in that mud digging them out, you might as well throw them away because they ain't never coming clean. Nothing take that out. Nothing.
Yeah, that riverbank mud is pretty. It's pretty rough on clothing and shoes for the most part.
Yep.
You know, I think I still got like some mud stains in my garage from bank fishing, getting all muddy coming in the house with that stuff.
Sure.
So, Bugman says floats with springs on the bottoms, not slide bobbers.
Yeah.
I still use those because I fish in some shallow areas, Buggy. To be honest with you, how do you feel about slide bobbers?
I love slip. I love.
I can't stand them.
I love them. I use them all the time.
I can't stand them. I think I need to get I either need to find a different rod with larger eyes on it, so I can get that bobber stop to slide through it, because the rods I'm using now, the ACC ones, they're casting rods, and they're worthless when it comes to
if they have to have bigger eyes on them for the bobber stop to go through. I use them a lot and with great success. And my favorite one to date, I like the fills that the line goes all the way through. They work really good. But for some reason, they're hard for me to come by. So I ordered some online. It's called Rod and Bond. And they have a spring on them,
Mm-hmm.
but it you can attach and pull that spring back, and it has a groove in there, and you can attach the line to that and let the spring go, and it keeps the line from popping out, and they just slide up and down your line. Right now, that's my favorite one to use, but I really, really like the fills, uh, but they're hard to come by these days, and I don't know why, because they're a great.
They're not cheap either. I mean, I
No,
miss the days when you could get a balsa wood thin Thill bobber. Those were, I don't care what anybody says, those were the best bobbers out there.
oh, they
These
look great.
plastic ones work, but they're not as sensitive. They don't cast as well. They just
Yeah,
don't do the job. Now those rod or bob and rod or whatever the name of that bobber company is, I think they call those the 3-weight. So
right.
the spring, you can use it like a regular spring bobber and like a
Yep,
slide float with a
right.
second notch that's in there. But I also noticed today, because that's what I was using today, Lyle, excuse me, was that they also have a hole right down the middle where you can feed your line through it like the old
Well, mine
fashioned.
don't have that.
Oh, the ones I had, the 3-in-1s, they're called.
Well,
So
I'll have to look on them because mine does not have that hole that goes down in there, and dang, I just can't get that where I want. But yeah, I would get some of those if I got an opportunity. I like the ones that the line goes all the way through. And another one that works really well, Mark. Uh, you go to Walmart and you can buy those foam ones. They don't take a beating like some of the others do, but the price adjusts. But
mhm.
they make slip bobbers that you can use for that, and you can buy them with or without weights made on the bottom, and they're cheap. So if you got kids or somebody, even me, if you get hung up all the time, you ain't out a whole lot. It costs more probably for the hook than it does for the cork. So, but they're just foam and they work really well.
Yeah, you get
And
you
they're
get
cheap.
3 for the price of 1 Thill. So I think Thill makes the styrofoam ones you're talking about, the weighted
Hey,
ones
probably
and the
so. Yeah,
non-weighted ones. You know, the ones with the cork stops, which I know that James uses those as well. Those work pretty well.
yep.
So definitely think of those. You know, and you also got to remember those old red and white little plastic bobbers they used to sell
They
everywhere.
still make them.
They do. They
They
do for a
still
reason.
make them. They're in every Walmart store across the nation. And
I mean, they're
they're
not the
inexpensive.
greatest, but they
No,
work. Any kit that you buy that's got everything you need in it is going to have those floats in there. Now, that being said, if you're using like a 1/32 and lighter jig head, they make these really tiny ones that I've seen that I actually have some. They're literally, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of an inch tall and maybe half inch around. But you got to be using light bait. Those are work very well. Now, I have a problem because I have no real feeling in my hand. So I have a problem getting the line or getting those little springs. You know how they're spring loaded at the top and
right.
the bottom.
Mhm.
I always have a problem getting them to sit right. But once I get it locked in, it's pretty good to beat. You can't beat them. So for the
They work
price,
really well. Now, another thing that I do, and people are going to think this is cheap, but I tie my own bobber string. I get the little coffee straws. I buy a box of them at Sam's for I don't know, $2 or $3, and I sit there and tie them up. And I made hundreds of them. I'll never have to buy another bobber. And I use the ends of spools of braided line. You know, when you put them on reels, you always end up with some left, and it's never enough to do anything with. But they make perfect barber stops. So yeah, there you go. And you can tie
I
them
got
up
one
with
here that
spool.
probably got 20 yards of braid on here. Maybe I should use it, but this is kind of thin, so
You
we'll see.
can make you can make a million barber stops out of that. You just make sure you get a bead with a hole in it that's small enough that it can't go past the barber stop. Uh, but I made a bunch of them out of 80-pound braid. And they fray out just like that floss they make the regular ones out of. When they go in and out of the water 2 or 3 times, just reach up there and cut it off. And the reason I leave that long on there till it frays out is so I can tighten it up a time or two more so that because they all loosen up a little bit. But after you tighten them up the second time or maybe even the third time, they will stay tight when you slide them up the line. And I just sit here when you're sitting here watching TV or videos or something at night. you haven't got nothing to do, you'd be amazed at how many of them you can tie up out of something you're probably going to throw away anyhow.
100%. You know, something that I've learned in the last couple of years that I really did know is those bobber stops. And I don't know if people in chat know either, but if you have to pull them hard enough, you'll feel a little pop once they lock into place. You want to make sure you get that, or else you're going to have problems with it all day.
Right.
So,
and since I'm like you, I don't have the strength or the feeling in my hands I used to have, and I use a pair of needle nose pliers on each one of them, and I sent them down there. They're there, and you can still slide them up down that braid or monofilament, either one. Doesn't matter.
yeah, Jerry Parker just mentioned the old galvanized minnow buckets. We talked about that a little while ago, but yeah, those are cool. You know, I'm going to have to be checking the garage sales this summer. Maybe I could come across one of them. I'd like to have one right here in my den for
It
display.
hasn't been too many years ago they were still selling them new. I don't know if they still do or not, but for a long time I had the one my dad had when I was a kid, and it ain't no telling how old it was then. And I don't know whatever happened to that, but it come up this several
Yeah,
years.
I don't want a new one. I want an old rusty one that's been sitting in a garage for 20 years. That's what I'm
best
looking
kind for display. Absolutely.
Yep. 100%. Schmieder the Cedar says Zepco 202. We caught everything with them. Yeah, those in the 33.
Yep. 202s is what you had the money to spend to buy a new one. And if it went bad, you wasn't out a bunch. And if you really wanted to upgrade, you got a 33. That's it.
You know, and I don't know what the model number is on this. It might just be a 33 micro that actually hangs underneath the rod like a spinning one.
Yep.
I caught so many bluegill and small bass and stuff using one of those. That was
pretty good.
Really good. Easy to cast because it had the pistol grip trigger on it, the whole deal.
Yep.
So
Zepco, people can say what they want, and nobody loves Abu Garcia stuff more than me. If it was up to me, that's all I would have in my arsenal because it's quality stuff. You pay just a little more for it, and it lasts a long time. And you can buy parts to repair every one, as far as I know, that they ever made. And I'm a huge fan of Abu Garcia. But Zebco has probably caught more fish worldwide than any other brand going, because every kid that ever started fishing was using a Zebco most likely. Because it's inexpensive. And if they lost it, tore it up, run over it, stepped on it, you wasn't out a whole lot. And if they wasn't interested, you wasn't whole. And if they was, then you'd upgrade to a better quality.
You know, if you had a kid and you got him something for Christmas to fish with, to fish alongside with you, there was a Zepco underneath the Christmas.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%. Aaron says that 30-pound Cajun red on a tiger rod from Walmart. Yeah, that's definitely now. Speaking of rods, you guys mentioned or Danny Stone actually made a video. He found an eagle claw rod in his collection of stuff, and I have two that I purposely bought because I wanted to have them. I never owned them back in the day, but I bought them, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago from Farm and Fleet, the yellow ones, Lyle.
Right.
They're heck of a rod. It works great for panfish, probably for smaller fish and cats as well. They'd work good. They're a little softer of a tip than I'm used to, but they're great rods 100%. So
my brother had used to buy them by the tons. I don't know how many that since he's passed away, if they're still up there, but he had an outside carport with a building attached to it where he kept his fishing stuff in. And at one time he had just tons and tons of them because he liked them. He could throw them things, a mile. And he liked the 600 and the 606 casting grease. And that's, they worked well for him on that. And of course, they come in a light, medium, and a medium heavy. But even the medium heavies had a pretty fast tip.
Great rods. And Matt says the original wire high-low rigs.
That's a good one, yeah.
I still use those. I bought some off of actually the bait shop from Dave's Taxidermy. I had Dave on my show a while back. He's the oldest guy on the Major League Fishing Tournament tour, and he still sells them to this day. They work great for perch off of the Navy Pier downtown. You can't do that. And that being said, in addition to those, the old bell sinkers that everybody has that I don't think I've ever seen too many people use that have been fishing for a while. I don't know why. I think some of the guys that fish for skipjack will put them on the bottom of their skipjack rigs, don't they?
Yeah,
So it's out there. Yeah. So
I see a comment down below where you're at, where Air Run says I was a Shimano guy, but now dial, and I have a Piscifun Viper. It's okay, smooth. I've had 2 or 3 of them companies contact me to do reviews on their stuff and I try their product, and I always message them back and say, "Is it the quality of an Abu Garcia? Is it going to last as long as an Abu Garcia? And will I be able to buy parts for it 20 years down the road?" And I've yet to have one return that.
Well, if you're buying like one of those presidentials, the XTs from Fluger, they're decent reels. They're not
They are,
but they're decent reels. And at those price points, and those, even the Piscifun Carbon X, they're more replaceable than like a $200 $200+ reel. But you got to remember, if you got kids, chances are if you take care of that reel, that Abu Garcia, you're going to be able to hand that down to them if you still have
I
it.
fully intend on.
Yeah,
I really do. I fully intend on my kids or grandkids getting a bunch of my reels. When something happens to me, because they're that quality. Now, whether they'll last them that long, or whether they'll take care of them, or whether they'll just throw them in the trash, who knows? But they mean a lot to me, and if they think anything at all about it, then the time they're ready to pass them on to their grandkids, they'll be worth it.
yeah. I have a couple of Shimano Stradics, which is
Very
expensive.
smooth.
They're smoother, and you're paying for it too. But I've
Yep.
had them for a long time. They're the old FLs, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't time for a rebuild. I stepped on the bail of one of them, and I kind of straightened it out myself. But it could probably use a replacement bail. We'll see if I can get the parts for that. But definitely they need some work. But other than that, I hope never to have to get rid of those reels because I spent so much darn money on them. That's for sure.
They say that I've reeled them at the store. I've never used one, but I've have yet to hear anybody complain.
They say it's saltwater quality at a freshwater price. So, you're getting a $400 reel for $200 is what they claim. So I would say that's pretty accurate as far as my experience is. So
them, you was talking about them Fluger President, again, not used one, but I have played with them in stores and stuff, and I'm pretty impressed with those. I think they would be a great reel to fool around with. But,
for like 2 or maybe even 3 years straight, Cabela's, which is Bass Pro,
right.
always has them on sale at Christmas time. They're the XT Special Edition. It's just like the regular XTs. I just don't care for the look of them. These are black, and they actually have a wooden handle on them. They're pretty nice. But I've got about 3 or 4 of them laying around.
Yeah, they sound pretty cool.
Use the heck out of them. Greg Burgess just joined. He says, "Mark, I like circle hooks because it gives me time to put my beer back in the holder." Right on.
Sounds like fun fishing there.
Aaron says, "Grandfather and his crappie rig and slip cork. I hated those wire deals. I think he's saying." Yeah. Ray Smith says, "Good old days. Eagle claw rods, yellow with cork handles, damn quick spinning reel with a hula popper." Yeah.
I haven't seen a hula popper in a long time. I don't know if they still make them or not. Kind of like jitterbug. They've been around forever.
I think they still make the hula poppers. I think I've seen one over at Dave's Tackle when I was in there. I was in there picking up some slip floats for today and picking up minnows. Don't ask me what I paid for minnows. That was crazy, but I don't think that's his fault. So Parker Pursuit says, "Would take a big glass pickle jar and take screen wire roll into a funnel and stick it into the jar, opening, and throw some bread in it. That's how we caught minnows back in the day."
Wow. Yeah. That'd do it. That's basically all minnow trap is anyhow. Or the old ones was anyhow.
Bugman says, "Here in August, you have to get down about 20 feet to get bluegill. Have to have a slide bobber," is what he's saying. Okay. That makes sense. You know, you can also try what? Oh my God, I can't believe it's a drop shot rig, Buggy. Those work really well in deep water situations. So
In deep water, a drop shot rig is my favorite way to catch them. And people say, "Well, you just got to bounce along a bottom." Well, that's not true. You can use a slip bobber and a bobber stop and find your depth and just let it down there. And the sinker on the end of your uh, drop shot will hold the bait where you want it, and the bobber stop will keep it, and you can watch the bobber or whatever you want to do. But I like drop shot rigs. I use drop shot rigs, and we'll do this on those shows sometime for a lot of a lot.
can't go wrong. You can get that. I don't care how windy it is. You get that bait on the bottom there with a big enough weight, and you'll be able to hold it right in front of the fish's face. So,
Josh, come in with a good one. You'll like it when you get there.
we'll get down there. We're trying to get caught up on the messages here. Aaron says, I remember back in the day with grandfather in his boat with all the damn colors from Nibbles. Looked like someone shot a paintball at the bottom of his boat.
Oh man.
Aaron says, I love slip cokes with 8 or 10 pound line and 40-pound braid leader. You can pull a tree out with those. I have 8 pounds. 8 pounds with 80-pound braid. You know, it's funny that you say that. I'm guilty of that. When I'm walleye fishing, I use like a 20-pound braid, which is overkill, but I'll use an 8-pound leader. I'll use like 8 feet of 8-pound leader, and that works fine. I can use that rod for multiple reasons. Now that rod I'm going to use for trolling on Lake Michigan as well. So I got enough weight there for cohos for sure.
Now, Mark, you've heard me talk many times about I don't like stretch in my fishing.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, when we're talking about catfish, I know it's a pan. If you let the action of your rod and the drag on your reel do its job and set them correctly, there's no reason for fishing line ever stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Just my opinion. And I've lived by that my whole life, and I have caught many, many catfish. With panfish, it's a little different. I have some braid on some of my lights and ultralights, and I have some on film. And this is not a plug for any certain company because I dearly love Trilene Big Game for monofilament. It's very good, inexpensively, and readily accessible. But the boys over Big Cat Fever sell that slime. And I have a couple of spools of 4 pounds. If you get in a brush pile, you got to walk. It'll stretch. It rarely breaks. It's very high quality line, but it has so much stretch that you can pull a tree limb up and see your jig sitting there, and you can't get
Can't get it out.
because the line is given, and you're trying to pull it. You got stretch in there, and there it is, and it's stuck. You know, but that stuff really works good for bluegill and
you know, there's companies out there. I think one of them that does this a lot is Charlie Brewer, as a matter of fact, that sell the really thin gauged wire hooks. And if you get caught up in a brush pile, you can bend them out real easy.
Yeah.
And then bend them back in. How much you want to do that, that's up to you. But if
there's another brand of line, and I contend that it's made by Berkley. I have no way of proving that, but it's Bass Pro Shop Excel. I have used this off and on for countless numbers of years. You don't get a lot of wind knots in it. It don't break. If you test it, it'll break just about where it's supposed to. Easy to tie knots in, very high quality line, and inexpensive. And I've bought it and used it on catfishing rods. This is actually for a catfish spinning rod. Don't ask me why I can't use it right now, but well, you know. But anyhow, their panfish size stuff is really, really good, and it's probably 2/3 of the cost of a lot of the other lines out there. And in my opinion, it's just as good.
as long as you're comfortable and you got confidence in it, there's no reason why you can't use anything. That's what.
Right.
I'm a firm believer in that.
There's some of the lines out there, Mark, that I will not.
Yeah, I've had those too.
For different reasons. You know, some of them,
Yeah.
if you leave them out in the sun for more than a day or two, they get brittle. You know, just once with that with me, or they break it. You know, if it's 6 pound line and you go to put a minnow on it and you drop the minnow and it breaks your line, I don't want none of that either. But there's
Yeah.
some lines I don't use.
I just changed out all the line on my crappie and panfish gear, and I think the line that I switched out to, I think I've had like an oversized spool for a long time because it's fresh line and there's a ton of memory on it already. So
Yeah,
I don't know
some
what
of
I'm
them
going
are
to do.
really bad. Cajun line has a lot of memory when you first put it on it, but there's a secret, or I consider it a secret, to getting some of that memory out of it. Whatever you're using, put a weight on it heavy enough that it's not going to break the line, but it'll hold it in place. And let all the line out if you're in a boat and just take off until it's just about out and then reel it up wet. That will help with memory.
I'll have to try that. Bugman says, I just started using the little rubber ones. I think he's talking about the bobber stops on
Right.
the thin wire you slide on a line. They are working pretty good. Yeah, I have some of those too. They work well, but again, I have problems getting it through the eyes on those rods that I use.
Yeah.
So if I find a different rod, I'll definitely use them because they're a heck of a lot easier to put on than me using my old eyes and having to look through my glasses in the dark trying to get
Now,
the
Mark,
line through those little beads.
on your rod that you're having trouble, is it just the tip top that you're having trouble get through, or is it the guides on down?
We'll talk about this later. I forget
Okay.
the name.
I was just curious.
It's got the new kind of eyes on it. Obviously, at the tip is a problem, but down the line, it's got those eyes where they have like an eye inside an eye. They
Right.
claim that it keeps mono from or your fishing line, the coils in it from slapping the rod blank. And causing it to cast not as far, but
Right.
it casts great. It casts real. They cast beautiful as long as I don't have a bobber stop on it. So it is what it is.
Yep. Okay. Just curious.
Scroll down here a little bit, try to get caught up. Is this what you were talking about? Josh says, you know what I miss most of all? Paying $5 for my fishing license. I just renewed my Illinois one, my Lake Michigan salmon stamp, my Wisconsin one, yearly non-resident, and the Wisconsin yearly non-resident salmon one. So yeah, that was and the boat pass for up there in Mendota. Did I tell you that the channel cats are moving up there? I found out.
Yes, you did.
Ooh, we're gonna have to make a trip up
Josh,
there.
when you get to be my age, you don't have to worry about it.
Bowman says, what kind of line do you use on your bluegill and crappie lines? I use Sufix mono. It's what I use. It hasn't let me down. I'm kind of disappointed in this last batch. I bought a cheaper spool of the stuff, some of their lower end stuff, and it seems they have a lot of coils and a lot of memory. So we'll see if I can't try Lyle's trick and see if that doesn't help.
Worth a shot. It may not work for you. It's always helped mine. And Cajun line was really bad. And for a long time, I really used a lot of Cajun line because it was easier for me to see. And now it's not so easy. Doesn't really matter what kind it is or what color it is. When you get to be my age, it's a little hard to see. But that worked for me to get some of the coils out of that. And it just stretches the line out and you put it up wet. But it may or may not work for you. I hope it does. Like I said, Excel, Berkley Trilane, big game. I love it. In all that's mono, that's my go-to. But I really like the Strim or the. I don't like Strim. I really like the Excel. If I can get it.
And Trilene's been at it for a long time. You can't go wrong with Trilene. And I do like the red cage, and it's been a while since I used it, but
it's good line.
Buggy says, I always used 4-pound strand on my bluegill pole, but I'm having issues with it lasting for some reason. They could have changed the formula. Try something else. The 4-pound test spool is fairly cheap.
They are.
You could do a little experimenting without it costing you too much. At least I think that's worth it. So Josh says, well, great. Just another couple of millennia to go. I don't know what he's talking about.
My age.
Oh,
10,000 comedians out of work, and we get Josh in our chat.
So Lyle, did we miss anything tonight?
I'm sure we did. We usually do, but it was it was a fun show with a lot of quality information. Matt says I really like Power Pro 10-pound with fluorocarbon 4 6 pound leader. That's pretty good advice there. Power Pro makes really good stuff. I have Sufix on one of mine in 10-pound, which I believe is the diameter of 4. Is that right? And
I'm
I have
not quite sure, but it sounds about right.
yeah, and I have some Power Pro on another one, and I have not had any problems with either one of them. Yeah, that's great looking.
This is 20-pound Sufix braid. Look how thin that is. That's thin.
Yep.
That's got to be 4-pound diameter. Easy.
Mark,
Easy.
I tell you, and we've talked about, you and I have talked about this a lot on and off shows. I use 832 Sufix braid on my catfish, and everybody says, "Oh, you can't use braid in the rocks. You can't. You just can't." I don't know what they coat their line with, but I have a lot less breakage in rocks and structure with their braid than any monofilament I've ever used. It does. It's not any worse, and it's a whole lot stronger.
It's tough too. I mean, I've I I've I use it on my river for a bunch of reasons. I like the way that braid cuts through the water a little better. I like
Absolutely.
if I got a fish in some structure that I can kind of horse that flathead out of that brush pile if every now and then if that happens. You'll break a limb if you get caught up on lighter branches and stuff, things like that. I pulled up huge logs out of the water with 65-pound braid. I've pulled a tire. I've gotten stuck dragging baits for catfish. I hooked a tire like the one that would be on the size of maybe a Honda, like a 195 maybe,
You
off the
pulled
bottom.
that out?
Pulled it out full of mud, Lyle.
Wow.
It
Now
was
that's a feat right there.
that was something, and I swear to God, I'm not kidding about that. So that's how come I stick with an 832, and I've been using it forever.
I've been using it forever, and I bought a 3,500 yard dealer spool. I got a bargain on that, and I've got a little bit of it left. And heads or tails, that's the best braid I've ever used, and I've used several kinds of braid trying to find what I want. But that's undoubtedly the best braid on the market in my opinion.
I agree. We talked about a lot of stuff, Lyle. I had fun again with you tonight. We got anything else, or are we going to call it?
I think I'm good unless somebody has another question. We had a lot of information we passed on, and that's what we do the show for, Mark, is to try to help people catch more fish or have less issues while they are fishing. And get out and fish. Now's the time. Them babies are I have used P-line, and it's good quality too. I just don't like it as well as I do the stuff.
I like P-line fluorocarbon leader material. That's I use that. If I'm using fluoro, I got a couple spools of it that I bought a while back. Never had another reason to buy anything else, and I still have it. You know, a 300-yard spool of line, if you're using it for leader, it'll last you forever.
Yep.
Forever. And I like it a lot. It works really well. It does get a little stiff from time to time. But that's one of the things with fluoro. It'll do that.
Yeah.
So you don't want to spool your whole lineup, just use it for leaders. So Bugman, Sufix 832 braid. That's one I like. Yeah, it's a great product.
If you don't like 832 Sufix braid, if you're a braid person and you don't like that, you're pretty hard to please.
It ain't cheap, but it's worth it.
Pay for it. Like I say, the ones that the stores buys, you can buy a 2,500 yard roll. They buy 3,500 yard roll, and the guy made me a deal on that, and I bought that years ago, and I'm still using it. I don't leave it outside or nothing like that. It's about gone now, but I can't tell you how many reels I put that stuff on, and I use for catfishing. That is 80-pound braid. I use 60-pound leaders. I've never broke the braid. Never, ever broke. Always broke the leaders. Now Brent, my friend Brent, he catfished a lot of tournaments and stuff. He used to fish a lot more than he does. He used 80-pound braid. And I'm not sure what kind it was. He used 150 pounds because that's where you get in trouble with structure tearing up your or breaking you off is the leader, most generally. But I can't imagine breaking that. Oh my God. 150 pounds.
We can talk about that on another show because we can go down the rabbit hole with that whole leader versus mainline deal. Definitely. So,
well, yeah, because there's a lot of different ways of doing it. A lot of people believe one way's better than the other. I just
there's Wildcat Rig says, try hollow core braid. You'll never go back to solid braid again.
really.
You'll and now I'm interested. I know
Me
that
too.
now that I'm getting into the whole salmon thing, they use lead core, which is pretty much braid with a lead core inside of it.
Right.
I wonder if it's just the same line without the lead in it. So,
Could be.
anyways,
I don't know. There's what was I going to say? There's some colored line that what is it? Every 10 feet it changes colors.
mhm.
That interests me.
Well, that's how they measure how far it'll drop in the water
If you don't
column.
have a line
Yep.
counter, real, yeah. I find that extremely interesting. I've never used it. In fact, I've never looked for it in a store, so I've never seen it in person. But that is interesting to me.
That's a deep water trolling line, I believe. So,
Correct. I would say it's all over the Great Lakes up there, but
yeah, we got stuff for sale here. It ain't cheap either. All right,
yeah, but
Lyle.
when you got that chance field money, you don't care, right?
I wish I had that money. We'll talk
By
after
the
the
way,
show. I almost forgot something. Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next Wednesday night, 7 p.m. You got Chad tomorrow, Stan and Jody probably on Friday, and there's got to be a tournament or something going on somewhere on Saturday. So,
yep,
and
I'm
most
sure
of all, don't forget Catfish Weekly every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. So,
one thing before we go, we talked about it on Monday night. Dee, after her operation, is doing a lot better, so keep them in your thoughts and prayers so she gets healed up. I know they.
I got to read this one before I go. It says, Mark salmon fishing. I may have to throw on a bulletproof vest and go up and fish with them. On that note, good night, folks.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.